Hey everyone, Volatile Rick here. I want to talk about Cube. I like Cube, and I especially like this card in Cube. This card happens to be a Lotus Cobra, and it is a very simple card. 2 mana, 2/1, landfall to get a color, any color of mana that you want or need at the time. So I don't know how many people play this in Cube. I think that it's generally well loved. It's got a pretty good body. Like 2 mana, 2/1 in green is like, okay, that's fine. But the mana ramp is where it's really at. You know, you don't play this because it's got 2 power. It can be an 0/1, you'd still play it. But if you're just looking at cards like the elves, if you've got, you know, your standard run-of-the-mill Llanowar elves, they're going to be very consistent. They're always going to tap for green mana, right? Your Arbor Elf is basically a Llanowar elf because you're generally playing forests. Sometimes this has some nice synergy if you've got like Taigas or any other green X land. Faint Horde elves. I know a lot of people don't like the FTV foils, but I'm not a big fan of the original art. You know, don't hold that against me. But there's basically 2 Llanowar elves and Arbor Elf. This is what I run in my cube. And in comparison to Lotus Cobra, like, these are way more consistent, right? You're much more likely to first pick these. Maybe not first pick, but you're much more likely to pick these if you're in green to try and get just that hit from 1 to 3 or from 2 to 4. Those are going to be like the key benefits of playing elves, is that you get to cheat stuff out way earlier than your opponent. Having a 4-drop on turn 3 is much stronger than probably most 3-drops in Cube because of the power level. So then, of course, we've got the closest comparison, if we're not talking about elves, is going to be Birds of Paradise. That's the, that should be the best, one of the best mana dorks, I think, in Magic. I don't think there's actually a better comparison. This is your guaranteed you want that in your deck. Yeah, I'm going to pick Birds of Paradise above Lotus Cobra almost all the time, right? So, and especially if we even compare it to some of the newer cards, we've got Sylvan Caryatid, a bit more consistent as well. It costs 2 mana, just like the Cobra. Taps for any color in the same way that Birds does, and is super hard to remove. Super hard to remove. You're gonna have to basically, you know, get combat tricked or something. You're gonna have to block with this thing, and then they're gonna have to combat trick it. Otherwise, it's just gonna block 2-power creatures all day long. And it's kind of an awkward, maybe a little awkward comparison, but if you look at something like Edge of Autumn, which is basically a rampant growth, right? Your rampant growth is going to get you a land. And that land is going to be in play for the rest of the game. So if we consider that I play a Llanowar Elves on turn 1, I'm going to have basically, it's like I have 2 lands out, right? I've got whatever I use to cast the Llanowar Elves and the Elves itself until it dies. So Edge of Autumn is something, again, very similar, where it's, you're going to get the land that you need, and that will be there for as long as you need it. Which is less susceptible to removal like Llanowar Elves. If someone like bolts my Llanowar Elves turn 1, I can sometimes just get blown out. So why are we playing Cobra then? Right? That's the true question. Is this such a great card? And well, I think so. And here's why. The really great part about Cube is that you can do busted shit, like play fetch lands, and fetch lands are extremely versatile. They fetch so many different things. You can fetch a basic, you can fetch tundras, taigas, all that jazz. And you can do that all for basically no downside, right? I sometimes even just do this even if I have 1 color, so that I can thin the deck. It's like I'm playing with 39 cards. So that if I'm saying green blue, I'll still play a Wooded Foothills, because then it's just an extra forest. So there's already benefit in playing fetch lands, and of course with the Lotus Cobra, you're going to be getting 2 mana off of the Cobra, and then an additional mana off of whatever you fetched up. So if you play Cobra on turn 2, and then on turn 3 you play Foothills, crack it, get a Taiga, you've now got access to, count it, 5 mana. 5 mana on turn 3. So there's very few things that can be that explosive. These don't really compare. They don't have that kind of upside, right? They're just going to ramp you once. And then if we're looking at more shenanigans, if we can constantly replay our Wooded Foothills or any other fetch, then we get this Lotus Cobra is going to tap for a lot of mana. It's going to give us 2 mana every single turn of the game. which again is not really comparable. So generally people play Crucible. I don't like Crucible as much. I think it's a little too non-interactive. It's easier to kill creatures. and that's why I play the other Snick. They're Snick friends. But there's the synergies, right? Fetch lands are where it's at. That's where Lotus Cobra shines, is when you've got fetch lands in your deck. Alternatively, so the problem is that if you cast Lotus Cobra on 2, and then you don't make a land drop, right? Now it's just going to be a 2 mana 2/1, then you're still going to have 2 mana. You're not going to have any more. Whereas if you cast, the Caryatid, it's going to give you another mana, and it's going to get you 3 no matter what. So to make your land drops more consistent, there's this, which I know you can't necessarily read it with a signature, but you can play the top card if it's a land, and that just makes it more consistent. It's as if the card is a 6th or 7th or 8th card in your hand, and you can just play that land right off the top. Makes that Lotus Cobra very consistent. It's almost always gonna get a land drop off of that and gain some incidental life. What other thing? Oh yeah, Oracle. Oracle, man, I want to live the dream when the Oracle is going to... Oh, sorry. I'm going to get you to focus. There we go. I want to live the dream with the Oracle. I'm going to drop 2 fetch lands off an Oracle, and then crack them both, and then and then get like a ton of mana, and cast them like a 6 or 8 drop super early. That's really the dream. But more practically speaking, if you have an excess of lands in your hand, you can ramp out, and Lotus Cobra, again, synergizes with that. Some of the other things you can do with it, just get to 4, right? Again, this is consistent with if you got an Llanowar Elves or anything else like that, but getting to 4 early for something like Natural Order, it can be a huge deal, because then it also gives you a body, right? So something like the Rampant Growth doesn't necessarily get there because it doesn't give you a body sack, but the Cobra will guaranteed be a body and produce mana just like the Elves, and get something huge like Woodfall Primus, or maybe just ramp you to get enough mana to cast Woodfall Primus if you got the Oracle of Moldiah going on. So, alternatively, you could just use it as straight up ramp. Who needs the colors if it can just cast a big old Metal Man? Or a big old Elder Dragon. So, these are, especially Nicol Bolas, especially hard to cast. And yeah, if you're running Lotus Cobra with Bolas, you're looking at 4+ colors in your deck. However, if you can get 1 fetch land, if you're on 6 or so lands, if you can get 1 fetch land to hit while a Lotus Cobra's in play, you can then get 2 colors of mana. You can take off the blue and the red from this casting cost. And then that makes that much, much more attainable. Nicol Bolas is absolutely devastating. I hardly know any games where he resolves and the game doesn't immediately swing in your favor. So that's really the true benefit of getting these. Like, that's the true ceiling, right? Whereas these are just less exciting. You're not going to play Fainthorn Elves and like, oh yeah, I'm going to get out my Nicol Bolas earlier, And a couple of niche cases would be if you're trying to get to 4 early, and like I said earlier, but also you want to fix your colors. We've got double black here, and of course the good old double white for Wrath of God. And these are really hard to hit if you've got a 3+ color deck. But if you've got a 3+ color deck, you're probably playing Control, and you're going to want to hit them no matter what. You're going to want to hit that turn 3, turn 4, turn 5 Wrath of God to just clear the board and stabilize so that you can start pumping out your big guys. And again, Cobra will do that. Any fetch land is going to make this so much. You're basically casting these without having to play any of the colors. I could have no planes on my deck and cast Wrath of God if my Cobra hits a fetch land. So those are just kind of different things you can do with it. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Tell me what you think in the comments. This is just my cube. These are all my own opinions. I'm not special in any way. I just like cubing. So if you like cubing too, let me know what you think. And I am always open to different ideas. If I were to try and first pick out these, or if I were to sort them by power level, probably these would be above the Cobra, and Elves would be below him. So I'm generally going to pick Birds of Paradise or Sylvan Caryatid above Lotus Cobra. But if I'm getting greedy, if I first pick Nicol Bolas and I'm going all in, it's not a competition. I'm probably going to pick that Cobra because that upside is really what you're getting. So yeah, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you guys like it, and I'll try and make this a regular thing. So see you later, and happy cubing.